Every gardener has fought that losing battle against pests. The aphids that suck the life out of your greens, the beetles that chew through your roots, or the caterpillars that turn your leaves into lace overnight. The usual answer, of course, is chemicals, traps, or endless hand-picking. But, you see, long before pesticides existed, farmers across Africa, Asia and the Mediterranean relied on one crop that did the fighting for them. It didn't just repel insects, it conditioned the soil, fed livestock and improved neighbouring plants. Over time, it was replaced by synthetic fixes and forgotten by modern agriculture. Yet today, as growers look for natural, sustainable solutions, this ancient crop is making a quiet comeback. It's called Sesbania, and it might just be the most powerful pest-fighting ally your garden has never heard of. You know, this plant's secret weapon is how it manipulates the ecosystem around it. Sesbania was once common in traditional farming systems from India to East Africa. It's a fast-growing legume that thrives in both wet and dry soils, often sprouting faster than weeds themselves. Farmers didn't just plant it for its leaves, they planted it for what it did underground. Its roots form a powerful partnership with nitrogen-fixing bacteria, enriching poor soil without fertilizer. But the real magic lies in its pest-repelling ability. The plant emits natural compounds known as allelochemicals, which disrupt the scent and feeding behavior of many common pests, including nematodes, whiteflies and borers. These chemicals essentially scramble the pest's sensory system, making your main crops invisible to them. In parts of Southeast Asia, rice farmers traditionally grew Sesbania between paddy cycles, not only to restore nitrogen, but because fields planted with Sesbania experienced dramatically fewer pest infestations the following season. That wasn't folklore, it was field science. You know, this ability to manipulate pest pressure without using a single drop of pesticide really made Sesbania a cornerstone of ancient integrated farming. But as synthetic fertilizers and insecticides gradually took over, its important role just kind of faded away. Interestingly, it's only in the last decade or so that researchers have started to rediscover the remarkable ecological power of Sesbania. Sesbania doesn't just keep pests at bay, it actually helps restore balance to your garden. So, when you grow Sesbania, you're doing more than just defending your crops. You're genuinely rebuilding your soil's immune system. Its dense foliage creates shade that cools the ground, reducing moisture loss. Its root nodules release nitrogen gradually, feeding microbes that outcompete soil-borne pathogens. In practical terms, this means fewer fungal outbreaks and less root rot. In Kenya, smallholder farmers traditionally planted Sesbania alongside maize. They noticed something striking. Fields intercropped with Sesbania suffered far less from stalk borers, even when nearby farms were infested. The shade and scent barrier made it, well, quite difficult for the pests to actually locate their host plants. Similarly, in India, farmers used it as a trap crop around vegetables, drawing pests away from delicate greens and beans. Once the Sesbania was infested, they simply cut it and composted it, removing the pest population in one controlled move. You can use the same method today. Just plant a perimeter of Sesbania around your main garden beds. It grows fast, often reaching 2 to 3 feet within weeks. Once established, it will outcompete weeds, deter flying pests, and improve the surrounding soil all at once. The versatility of Sesbania is what made it invaluable to traditional farmers. After 1 or 2 growth cycles, the plants were cut down and left on the soil as a green manure. Their stems break down quickly, releasing nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium back into the earth. Unlike most legumes, Sesbania decomposes cleanly, leaving no allelopathic residue that harms other plants. If you prefer composting, Sesbania greens speed up the pile's heating process, thanks to their high nitrogen content. A single batch can cut composting time in half. Its leaves are also high in protein, which made them a critical livestock fodder in dry regions. In times of scarcity, farmers use Sesbania to keep goats and cattle alive through droughts. So, even if you're growing it for pest control, you're also generating fertilizer and feed in one stroke. To integrate it into your own system, start by planting it densely in unused corners or along fence lines. Let it grow through the warm season, then cut it back and spread the biomass across your beds before winter. Within one cycle, you'll notice richer soil, fewer weeds, and reduced pest activity come spring. Over the last few years, soil scientists and agronomists have put Sesbania under the microscope, literally. In controlled studies, fields treated with Sesbania green manure showed up to a 50% reduction in root knot nematode populations. Interestingly, others found that neighbouring crops experienced improved nutrient uptake and growth rates, all without the need for any additional fertilizer. Even more fascinating, researchers discovered that Sesbania's decomposition products actually release natural compounds which stimulate beneficial soil microbes, while at the same time suppressing those troublesome, harmful fungi. That combination, pest control, microbial stimulation and nutrient cycling, well, it makes Sesbania one of the very few plants that improves both above-ground and below-ground ecosystems at the same time. It's, quite simply, a living bioreactor for soil health. The historical record really backs this up, you know. In Chinese wetland farming systems from 500 years ago, Sesbania was interplanted with rice, producing yields that were quite comparable to those grown with modern synthetic nitrogen. And in ancient Egypt, its relatives were cultivated on riverbanks to stabilize soil and naturally repel insects. Fascinating, isn't it? These weren't just random experiments, mind you. They were long-term systems built on careful observation. And, well, they worked. Now, bringing this forgotten crop into your garden doesn't require a laboratory or any specialized equipment. It just takes a bit of timing. So, Sesbania thrives in warm weather and really prefers full sun, though it can, you know, tolerate partial shade. It germinates best in moist soil, and establishes quite quickly, often reaching maturity in about 60 to 90 days. Start seeds in early spring, right after the last frost. Plant them about half an inch deep and water regularly for the first 2 weeks. Once the plants are knee-high, you can begin using them as chop-and-drop mulch, or simply leave them to grow as living pest barriers. If you're rotating crops, it's a good idea to grow Sesbania in one bed for a full season before replanting vegetables there the following year. The residual effects, nutrient release and pest suppression will actually last for months beyond harvest. If you raise animals, you can harvest some of the foliage to dry as high-protein fodder. It's especially valuable for rabbits, goats and chickens. So, you'll be using every part of the plant the way our ancestors did, really closing the nutrient loop without relying on any external inputs. You know, the modern garden has become dependent on all sorts of quick fixes. Bottled fertilizers, insecticidal soaps, and synthetic sprays. Yet, as this 5,000-year-old plant reminds us, nature already wrote the blueprint for pest control and fertility management. You know, Sesbania doesn't just chase pests away. It actually restores the balance that makes pests unnecessary in the first place. It's a lesson straight from history, really. Resilience isn't built in a factory. It's grown from the ground up. So, if you're serious about creating a self-sustaining garden that feeds itself, fights its own battles, and enriches the soil for decades to come, well, it's time to bring Sesbania back. The old farmers knew what they were doing, and now so do we. If this guide helped you rediscover one of history's most powerful soil allies, make sure to subscribe to Hydrahaven, share this with another grower, and, keep digging into the ancient practices that built thriving ecosystems long before modern agriculture ever existed.